Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Thrive, Not Just Survive. I'm your host, Nasira Jamal, and I am so grateful that you are here. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. The weather's been really good here in Toronto, so we've been really enjoying the outdoors. Today's guest is someone that truly inspires me, and it's such a unique place that she's found herself, her genius. And I want to bring her on because we're going to talk about fragrances and the fragrance in terms of how it makes you feel, and why she has actually created this as a business that helps other people find out what their fragrance preferences are and the type of fragrance that she creates for each individual or company or corporation or whoever wants to create a branding around a fragrance. This is the person that we really want to share because her genius is just amazing. So let me bring Sue on so we can get this conversation started. Hi, Sue. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's so great to meet you and see you.
I know. And you know what? You and I had made a connection a while ago from our book journey.
Yes.
But I wanted to talk to you about the real genius behind what you do. And before we do that, I want you to kind of give a framework of your story, of how all this started.
Oh, well, thank you, Nasira. It's so lovely to see you and to be with you. Thank you. I think it's an interesting journey. I'm from South Africa. And I came to America because my brother was living here. Things were not so great in South Africa. And I came in 1976, which is a long time ago, as a young person, and fell in love with the energy of America. It was the bicentennial celebration, and everybody was having a party. It was like a party every day because people were so happy about this bicentennial celebration, and there were all kinds of celebrations around the country. And I went from New York to California and New Orleans and just having a wonderful time, really seeing America. And went back to South Africa, and 7 months later, I was living here. So I decided that I really wanted to be here. I stayed in New York and worked for an immigration attorney to get my green card, because at the time you couldn't work if you didn't have your papers. And I had always been a singer and an actress and wanted to sing and act. And he said, Sue, forget it. There are 20,000 out-of-work singers and actresses. We don't need another one. So he helped me get my green card. And then I landed up, once I had it, going on different interviews at the end of that year once I had my green card. And there were 3 job interviews I got. One was for a bank, which I didn't think was for me. One was to work in design and fashion. And at the time, I didn't really know anything about fashion. And the third one was to work for Elizabeth Arden. And I said, aha, cosmetics, theater, there's a nice synergy. And so that's what I did. I landed up at Elizabeth Arden. And because I could stand up and sing and speak and perform in front of people, they thought I'd be really good in training. And at the time, I didn't even know what training meant, but it was to train the people behind the counter all about the Elizabeth Arden products. So I became the national training director for the fragrance division. And that's basically how I started my business. Eventually, in fragrance, I learned about fragrance on the job, and I read everything I could about fragrance, and I tried every fragrance. And when I would do my training schools around the country, I always had beautiful music playing and just lovely stories to tell about fragrance, and really inspired people about the magic and the mystery of fragrance. And so I was at Arden for 6 years, 2 years in training. Then they promoted me to product development, then to marketing. And then Lancôme hired me as marketing director for fragrance and men's skincare. And then Tiffany hired me as vice president of marketing, and I developed and launched the Tiffany perfume. So it was pretty, if you would have told me growing up in South Africa that I would one day launch the Tiffany perfume and develop and create it, I'd say you're crazy, but that's what happened. So
that is so amazing to see how this journey brought you to what you're doing now, which I know is like the passion that you do it with is something very close to your heart. So yeah. I want you to maybe kind of give us an overview of the company and how you develop fragrances now.
So when I left Tiffany to have my daughter, I didn't want to just be a stay-at-home mom. I'm too passionate and I'm too sort of entrepreneurial. So I started my own company, which I, at the time, excuse me, I called Sue Phillips Enterprises. And it was such a boring name, but, you know, lo and behold, the creative juices come at all times of the day or night. And at 4 o'clock one morning, I'm sort of going through my mind, thinking of scent and enterprises, and I came up with Scenterprises. So that's my company name. And I started consult. I developed fragrances for Burberry, for Trish McEvoy, for Avon, and became a consultant and developed brands for different companies. And understanding what their company ethos is and understanding what their objectives are, you know, not just my subjectivity. No, I have to put myself in the shoes of the brand so that I can determine what the right fragrances and the right elements are for that brand. And after 2008, when the financial crash happened, all the consulting dried up. So by this stage, I was already very deeply involved in fragrance consulting and fragrance knowledge, and really understood how fragrance could make people feel and make people feel really very differently, and sort of tap into the memories and the emotions and that wonderful feeling of when you wear a fragrance and you love it, it makes you feel confident. So I started to think about bespoke, and bespoke is a term that is used, it's actually a British term, made sort of regarding clothing, you know, made for you, special clothing, custom tailored clothing. And was usually for the very wealthy and royalty and nobility, because custom tailoring was very, very expensive. And so I thought, well, what about custom fragrances? And so I started to develop the fragrances, and eventually I launched, and people said, what are you doing? Tupperware parties for perfume? And they laughed. And the whole idea of personalization and customization and do-it-yourself really started to take off about 10 years ago. And now, you know, everybody is a brand. Everybody is a brand. You have your cell phones, you take Instagram pictures and selfies. And so the whole idea of customization really started to flourish. And I was at the forefront of it. And I opened my perfume studio a few years after I'd started this, called the Centarium. And now I do corporate events, team building events, bridal shower events, any kind of event, and for any occasion that really wants to make people feel good, client appreciation events, events for high net worth individuals, for banks and corporations. And it's amazing how we've actually been able to create these lovely experiences with scent. And so every time that people wear this fragrance, they'll be reminded of the person, the company, or the event that sponsored it. So it's been really wonderful.
That's amazing. I mean, for you to take an idea like that and transform it to the place where the market would understand it, the market would connect to it in a different way, right? Because I mean, Tupperware parties and all of that, but this is scent, right? So this is very unique. And like you said, you were at the forefront of this whole idea, which I think is so brilliant. But now tell me, with COVID-19, how you have sort of pivoted the business, because obviously live events are not happening for the moment, right?
Yes.
How have you pivoted now to be able to help continue this for others?
Well, we've had, you know, everybody's becoming a brand between selfies and Zoom and sessions and so on. So I'm doing a lot more seminars and sessions and interviews online, like we are today, where people actually can contact me, and they do, to create their own fragrance. And so I developed a scent personality quiz or questionnaire. Everybody loves to take quizzes. And the idea is, you know, I meet with them, I give a customized, personalized workshop. I take them on a fragrance journey, and we actually have a Zoom session. Now you might say, well, but how can people think about fragrance if you can't smell it? Well, there's a couple of ways I do it. The first one is if people really want to meet and create their own fragrance, we have a little scent kit that we send out ahead of time. And as we go through the journey, they go through that with me. And then based on their results from the quiz, I determine their results and then send them a personalized perfume. So that's done quite well. We've done quite a few corporate events and team building events where we've had quite a lot of people on Zoom sessions. And it's all about the discussion, the exploration, the history, even the description of the fragrances. And it's really interesting because when you put an image in front of somebody and you describe it, suddenly the fragrance comes to mind. They can see it, they can kind of feel it. And the way I describe it helps them to determine what fragrance family they're like. So, it's very much a descriptive business. It's very much a combination of art and science. Fragrance is an art. It's just comparing and coming up with beautiful ingredients that make you feel happy and make you feel, sad or happy or, confident, and bring back memories. And it's also a science, understanding what ingredients to use together and how different ingredients work well together, how certain combinations will be very impactful and how some combinations can really be, very bad. And that's why it is really an art and a science. I am not a perfumer per se. I did not study organic chemistry, but throughout my career, having done so many and worked with so many brands and having understood the brand ethos, I've become a fragrance designer, if you will. So I help design the fragrances and direct the fragrance.
I just want to sort of talk about, you and I talked about this off camera a few weeks ago. I had told you that for me, when I go to let's say like to a department store and try a perfume, I get a headache right away. Like it just seems like I'm very sensitive to perfumes. And so you had said to me that, because of the chemicals that are being used in there are affecting me, right? So can you talk a little bit about the fragrances that you put together?
Sure. And that's such a great comment about, fragrances giving headaches. Nazira, I've been in the fragrance industry for so many years, like 40 years. And I've never heard more negative comments about fragrance than I have in the last, say, 5 to 6, 7 years. And it's very interesting because I make the comparison of champagne and wine. If you drink cheap champagne or cheap wine, what happens? You'll end up getting a terrible headache and a terrible hangover. And good quality champagne, you can drink 5 or 6 glasses and never, ever get a headache. So it's all about the quality. It's all about what is in there, what the ingredients. And the same is true for fragrances. Sadly, many companies are using inferior ingredients and putting a lot of chemicals in to replicate the naturals, because not everybody can afford Bulgarian rose oil or exquisite natural sandalwood or some very luscious woodsy, musky notes. And so a lot of the times certain chemicals and synthetics are used. Now there are some very good high quality synthetics, which means man-made as opposed to natural. But many of the fragrances today have a very sort of strident factor, and people get headaches and allergies. I will tell you that I've never had one person complain about headaches or allergies from my fragrance, and I've been doing this part of my business for 10 years. I have about 16,000 people in my database, and we've never had one person complain of headaches or allergies. So to me, it's all about the quality. It's a question of quality. If you really have quality products and quality ingredients, you'll never get headaches, you'll never get allergies, you'll never get rashes or anything like that.
Right. And I think that's really important, especially with a lot of people having some like more heightened allergies showing up later in life. For me, I mean, it's happened, right? Like where I've got headaches or I can't use hair color anymore because I break out in hives, and never had that problem before. So I think in terms of our own tolerances, our body is reacting to a lot of stuff that's affecting us. What I want to ask you is, so how does the whole it's a fragrance quiz that you have. How does that work? Like if somebody wanted to take it, what does that involve?
Well, it's a quiz that I designed. I call it a perfume personality profile. And it really is a lifestyle questionnaire, and it's a quiz. It helps determine what your lifestyle is, so I can look at it. So it's questions about what colors do you like, what seasons do you like, what type of fabrics do you like, what kind of vacations do you like to go on, what kind of impact certain people have on you, and so on. And so it's not very complicated. It's really a fun questionnaire. It's really terrific to take it. And based on those results, I can determine if you'd like certain categories. Now, in fragrance, there are 8 fragrance families. And it's quite interesting, but it's a little complicated to understand. You have your citrus, your florals, your woodsy, your musky, herbaceous, the fruity, amber, and so on. So it's a lot to sort of understand. And in order to determine your fragrance results, I've narrowed it down to 4 main fragrance families: the fresh, the floral, the woodsy, or the spicy. So that's pretty easy to understand. And based on the results, sometimes people can be like, have fresh and woodsy, or floral and spicy. And so you don't just have to fit into one category. You can actually be a combination of 2 or 3 or just one. But it is amazing because it really does work for both men and women. And it's pretty accurate. I would like to say it's 99% accurate, but I have to give 1 or 2 percentage points for error. So I will tell you a story. So one day I get an email from somebody, and they took the Scent Personality Quiz, and I get the order. And the person's name is, let's say, for instance, Sean. Now, Sean could be a woman or a man, just the way Peter, depending if you're P-E-T-A or P-E-T-E-R, or some kind of a sort of non-gender specific name. And so based on the results, I created a fragrance which I thought, and also there's a question, one of the questions is, are you a man, woman, or, non-gender or binary or whatever. So I might not have seen that, or that might not have been filled out. So I didn't realize who the person was, what the gender of the person was. And I made a fragrance that was quite masculine based on the results. And I skewed it towards something a little bit more masculine, a little bit more woodsy, and so on. And when I followed up and I called the person and I said, how did you like your fragrance? And the lady said, she said, it's too masculine, it's really not for me. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And so I redid it, and I then sort of reformulated to make it slightly more feminine. So what is more feminine? Something a little bit more floral, a little lighter, not as heavy with deep woods. And when I wrote back and I said, how did you like it? She said, oh, it's fabulous. I loved it. So, based on people's preferences, it's interesting to know that people can skew towards feminine scents. Now, what a feminine scents could be light florals, or masculine scents could be woodsy and spicy. And it's really interesting because in America, most men do not like florals, but European men love florals. And so depending on the cultural difference and where you are, it can really also skew the fragrance towards what you think would be feminine or what you think would be masculine. But then, you go to Asia or you go to Europe, and Asian and European men really do happen to like florals. Yeah. So it's really interesting.
It's very interesting because, like you said, like it's so personalized, right? And it's an individual scent. Like it's not made in mass production. You're
exactly
for one person or one brand or one company. And so I think that is the creativity that goes into that is so amazing, right? That if you were to create a fragrance for me, and you and I have talked about creating it for Pink Tank, and to have it so branded for something that's so close to my heart anyways for the Pink Tank. But I think that the idea of creating something that's so personalized, we get that kind of attachment to it, right? As if it was our name.
Exactly. And go ahead.
That's the relationship, right? Like you're building a relationship with that fragrance as opposed to it just being one that you buy in the store.
I always say it's so true. I always say to people, why wear what everybody else wears when you can actually wear and create your own? And there's something so special about wearing a fragrance that you love, that you know has been created for you. And when people hug you or they say hello to you and they say, what are you wearing? It is such a confidence builder. People sort of stand up a little taller, they smile more broadly, and they feel really incredibly empowered because it makes you feel so good. It makes you feel just so confident. And that's why this is such a great idea for team building and for corporate events, because in those situations, you want to foster, good thinking and leadership and training and camaraderie and people working together. And when people have their own fragrance, if you will, and they feel empowered and they feel confident, they're able to be a little bit more outgoing and reach out and sort of include other people in their sphere.
Yeah, there's something to be said about how you feel inside,
Yeah.
and how you show up outside, right? So if you are feeling really confident and you're feeling empowered, then you basically show up like that for your groups, for your tribes, community, whatever that is, for your family. I love the whole idea of creating something that you can't, like if somebody said to me, I love what you're wearing, what is that? They can't have that particular scent because it's created for me. What I can do is say, you can create a scent that's just for you, that you can fall in love with, right? And I love the whole idea of it being personalized. So can you tell?
You can also get to name it. So, you can call it, it's Nasira, or it's, whatever name you want to call it.
Yeah.
Name their fragrances.
And that's beautiful too, right? Because then you have an attachment to it because you named it. It's like having a baby and you name your baby, right? So
Exactly.
like that. I love it. I love it. So can you tell us a little bit about sort of, I guess you and I have talked, but if they take this quiz online, going to centerprises.com, they could basically get it there. When they take that test, do they get a actual perfume like that's going to be created for them based on that quiz?
Oh yes, absolutely. We have two sizes. We have the size that comes in these 3 atomizers, and these are so nice because they're actually portable. They're refillable.
You put it up a little bit on the camera so we can see. Okay, perfect.
Sure. Oops, let me do it this way.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
And the nice thing about these is that they actually swivel up. So they swivel and they twist and swivel.
So I have a question, and I know I didn't ask you this before. So let's say I run out of that. Would you just create another batch for me, my perfume, and then I can fill it in that bottle?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
And then we have it in the larger size too. We have the gold, got black and gold, the brush black, and I have a rose gold as well. Yes, so once you have your fragrance, once you have the formula, I keep the formula in the database. And then anytime you need to reorder it, we just ship you out the refill.
Okay, perfect. So then back to the question of if they take the quiz, basically, what does that include? What does that mean for them?
It includes the quiz, and then they take the quiz, and then they select the size, the color they want, and the size they want, and then I send that out to them. So that's one aspect, the quiz. Just to create your own custom fragrance. If they want a whole experience, that's another price, and that we do a Zoom session. The way I used to do it with meeting people in individually in live. It's a whole hour's consultation. We go through each of the blends, and then they get a nice larger size fragrance.
Right, perfect. And so I know for the people that are watching today, you do have a really nice offer for them. Whether you're in the pink tank or you're watching this on my profile, you have been very kind to offer this. And can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. So if they go online and they want to create the quiz and they do the fragrance and they want the fragrance, I'm offering a 10% coupon or discount, and I like to say preferred pricing. And they just contact me and say they were on the show and they saw it and they would like to do it. And then I will send them the code and the link.
Excellent. I think that's brilliant, and I appreciate you offering that. Yeah, because I really think this is so unique and wonderful, especially now with people being, sort of under lockdown and feeling a little bit more distraught maybe, or feeling a little bit disempowered because they feel like they're not part of the world. They're sort of more housebound and not. So this is a great way to uplift somebody's spirits. So whether it's a gift you're giving, you could possibly give that quiz as a gift to somebody, or just do it for yourself. Because I do believe like that building of confidence and building up that feeling of the empoweredness is really something that can go a long ways.
It's so amazing because truly, fragrance is not new. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. And it started off with religious ceremonies, and they would take the sort of aspects and the religious items that they wanted to offer to the gods. It actually started in Egypt. And the word perfume, do you know what the word perfume means?
No.
It actually means, it comes from the Latin perfumum, which means through smoke. And so in the ancient Egyptian rituals, they'd make sacrifices to the gods, and they would put on an altar of wood all the elements that they wanted to offer to the gods, and they would light it up and they would burn the wood, and the aromas wafting through the air would have these beautiful, the smoke wafting through the air would have all these beautiful aromas. And so through the smoke, perfumum, came the word perfume. And so perfume has been used in religious rituals for centuries. And the Greeks and the Romans, the Macedonians, they all started to use these sort of perfumes and perfume oils eventually, and incense. And it was used to really either to offer, sacrifices to the gods. In the 13th century, they would use these sort of chalices, and they would swing backwards and forwards, and the incense would pour out, and they used it to ward off the evil spirits. They used a certain ingredient in these chalices, galbanum, to ward off the evil spirits. So fragrance has been used in religious ceremonies. It's been used in the courts of Louis the 16th to make them feel good and to perfume themselves. It's an amazing way to really enhance yourself. And I just did a little Facebook sort of research quiz the other day, and I said, how many people wear fragrance for themselves or for other people? And so many people, almost everybody wrote back and said, I wear fragrance for myself, which is very different from what happened in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, where many women would wear fragrance for their men or their boyfriends or husbands or significant others, which meant that we all as women wanted to be validated. We wanted to be told, oh, you smell good, by somebody we love. Well, guess what? Today it's all about feeling yourself, your own sort of empowerment, if you will. And I think that also it's also a reflection of the era that we're living in, where everybody can be a brand. We all take selfies. Everybody has an Instagram page or a Facebook page, and everybody's reflecting who they are through their own brand image. And why not through your own fragrance image? So yes, and fragrance is very, very powerful, and it connects memory and emotions. I always like to say that I like to take fragrance my mission is to take fragrance out of the bottle and to create magical fragrance experiences for people drop by drop, or spray by spray.
That's awesome. I think that's such a beautiful way to tie all of this together. How wonderful is it when you can actually put on a scent, walk out of the room and feel that for yourself beyond anything else, right? You can just feel so strong and courageous. Yeah. And just beautiful. I think fragrances can do that. And there you are, as you show up for your tribe, and you are helping people, helping women and men create that for themselves, their own brands, like you say. So I am so grateful that I've met you, and I'm so thrilled that you're here, because this is so unique. I've never had anybody talk to me about scents and personalizing scents. So this was brilliant.
Well, Nasira, when we met at that book seminar, we had an instant connection, and I follow you, and it's so lovely. And now we have to really make a fragrance for you. Finally.
Absolutely. We're going to do it. And I think for
Yeah.
the Pink Tank, that's something you and I talked about,
Yes.
because that is a brand that I want to grow. And I feel like the women in there are there for, networking and support and empowerment. And it would be a great way to give a fragrance to the tank. So thank you for that. I want to appreciate your time. I really hold that valuable for us. And so I invite you back if you have any new things that are coming up in your program or how we can work with you. Let me know. I'd love to have you back on the show. But I do want to thank you for this time today.
Thank you so much, Nazira. It's been so lovely talking to you, and I hope everybody has enjoyed it. And thank you for reaching out and doing this. I think you're amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll see you again soon.
Perfect. Take care. Bye-bye.
That was my dear friend Sue. And how amazing is that when you can create a fragrance that's created just for you, not mass produced, just for you, and the empowerment that one can feel when there's something that is personalized like that. So reach out to Sue on her website, centerprises.com. Take the quiz. It includes your perfume. Message her directly. She'll give you the discount code that she's willing to give us as in the Pink Tank and on the profile. Anybody that reaches out to her and says that they saw her on Thrive Not Just Survive, she's going to be giving us all a discount. So happy Monday. Enjoy the week. Remember to be kind to yourself and others. And I'll see you tomorrow right here actually with another guest. I'll see you then. Have a great day.